Thank you, Marco, and thank you for having me on the show. And apologies, ladies and gentlemen, I can't join you, but my youngest 9-year-old is COVID, and thus the whole household is under quarantine. So I'm going to share this screen virtually with you guys, and I'm going to take you on a little journey, which I hope you're going to find exciting and educational at the same time. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Rebalance Earth, and about a year ago, I discovered an interesting stat, which is, according to the IMF, a forest elephant is worth $40,000 dead for its ivory, but $1.75 million alive for its carbon sequestration services it performs in the forest. $40,000 dead, $1.75 million alive. There's a market today for a dead elephant, but there isn't a market for a living elephant. And this is really a good example of how we as a society value nature only when it's dead instead of when it's alive. And that is what is the cause, fundamentally, I believe, to climate change, to the loss of biodiversity. And when you put those two factors together, you have an increase in global poverty, up to 132 million by 2030, according to the World Bank. These are my two daughters. So the one on my left is the one who is sick, which is the reason I'm not with you guys. But for you in the audience who are parents, I've got some scary statistics for you. According to The Guardian, today's children will endure 30 extreme heat waves in their lifetime, twice as many droughts and wildfires, 3 times more river floods and crop failures. Now, I'm not an environmentalist at heart. When I read that, I decided to do something about it because I do not want my legacy to my daughters to be that kind of a disaster. But luckily, I got the best of friends out there who can help us change that turn of events. And they're called nature superheroes, and they are here to save us from ourselves. And they're called keystone species, whether it's the orangutan, the forest elephant, or the great whales, because they are also known as ecosystem engineers. And their superpowers are called ecosystem services. Whether it's in terms of regulation of the climate, of the soil, or in terms of supporting in terms of seed dispersal and nutrient dispersal, provisioning of water holes in the case of the forest for other species to benefit, and culturally in the form of ecotourism or other services, which for some cultures has spiritual attributes to it. Now let's come back to what the IMF said, $1.75 million for a living elephant. Now that's based on a 2019 scientific study led by Fabio Bazzaghi that looked at the Congo tropical rainforest. The parts of the rainforest that kept their elephants captured 7% more carbon than those who've lost their elephants. And that's because that elephant, when he moves around the forest, he destroys a lot of small plants and destroys trees that have a low wood density, which means that the core ancient trees do not have to fight as much for natural resources. They become super factories absorbing carbon. And the forest elephant eats the fruits of that tree and does 1 metric ton of dung every week. So I'm hoping you're not going to have your lunch too soon because that's an interesting stat. But that dung is effectively a nutrient and seed dispersal agent. All we're missing is a marketplace for that, for a living nature. And the question is, why now? Why should we be doing this now? Well, because there's an increasing recognition. I saw it when I was in Glasgow, that there is this value of biodiversity and its impact on climate change. That emerging technologies such as blockchain, Internet of Things, and AI can help provide the traceability, the trust, and the transparency that is so needed in this industry. And that there's a need for a holistic solution that incorporates climate change, biodiversity loss, and poverty all in one. And you know what? We're in a race against time because the forest elephants behind me, they're going to go extinct in 10 years, according to the IUCN. And the market is waking up to that, whether it's Microsoft or GSK saying they want those holistic solutions, that they want to have one that includes biodiversity, that protects the local communities, that is recognizing of the human rights and empowers women. And I'm very happy to say that Go Cardless has become one of the first corporate clients to join the Rebalance Earth platform. And as you know, this is a very growing market in terms of just the carbon offsets, from 1 billion to up to 100 billion by 2030. Now, who are we? Well, Rebalance Earth is a global ecosystem services platform on valuing and funding a living nature to combat climate change, biodiversity loss, and lift communities out of poverty. We cannot tackle these challenges in silos. They're all interconnected. So as is nature. It's only us who is in a silo in our own little worlds. Nature is interconnected and needs to be treated in that manner. So our platform is the following. On the left-hand side, you have buyers, whether it's households, enterprises, capital markets who come to buy ecosystem services credits, or for those of you in the enterprise blockchain world, tokens. Those credits go in the form to the recipients, whether it's the park ranger that protects the elephants from the poachers, or into local communities in the form of micro investments, so that the local community gets free healthcare, free education, job creation. You link the two together with the health of the keystone species. The keystone species in our case, where we're launching in Gabon next year, is the forest elephant. And our sensors, motion activity camera traps, acoustic sensors, does one thing: prove that the elephant is alive. If the elephant is alive yesterday, we produce a credit of $50 to $100, which can be monitored on a R3 Corda blockchain in a transparent, traceable, and trusted manner. So our proposition is we give local communities new jobs, we increase their economic growth. From a government perspective, they have 45,000 elephants in Gabon. That's $31 billion we can add to their balance sheet. From a nature perspective, we're protecting it. And from a buyer's, it's transparency, traceability, and trust. So this is a concept of how it could look like for a client. How many carbon offsets has been done? The value of the contract has been delivered. How much is outstanding? An example of how we transform your carbon dollars into carbon for social good. But the most powerful tab, ladies and gentlemen, is when you click on your elephants, because here we can show you in an authentic way every single day that's passed by. Here are the elephants that produced that ecosystem services credit. It changes every day because every day it's a new elephant that provides you that token. And you can see the picture, the video file, the sound file. It's about bringing the buyer closer to nature. It's about authenticity. But there's this African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's what we want to do, because we're in a race against time. And we want to build a marketplace where other institutions, governments can upload their own keystone species as long as they follow our scientific model. But for that, you need a lot of sensors to prove that that species is alive. And that's when we realize that existing conservationist groups already have sensors. So this is the Max Planck Institute in the German Max Planck Institute, who are based in Gabon. They've been monitoring the great apes for the last years. They got a network of 30 camera traps, which they can connect to their platform. Every time we use one of their pictures to prove an elephant is alive, we will give them up to $1 for that content. Thus, I am funding conservationism. All this data will be cleansed, aggregated, and structured and given for free in an open source manner to the scientific community. And to accelerate that, we're launching the Nature Sandbox in partnership with the Minister of the Environment for Gabon. And this can grow very big. And for that, you need an independent governance body composed of Rebalance Earth, the national governments in which we operate in, local communities, but also global institutions, where it's the World Bank to manage this new asset class of ecosystem services, and also the WWF and Greenpeace to fight against greenwashing. So the team: myself, Ralph Chami, the Assistant Director at the IMF, Ian Redmond, the internationally world-renowned conservationist. He's a cross between David Attenborough and Indiana Jones, and 60 volunteers from all around the world. We all met through COVID during this period of craziness. We've got 3 principles that unites us: be human, have love, and give hope. Join us, as R3 has joined us with $250,000 of free tech, as has 52 universities, as has a number of other initiatives around the world. Together, we can make that change. Thank you.